Money FM 89.3, best of prime time. Mind your business with Howie Lim, only on Money FM 89.3.
This is Primetime on Money FM 89.3. Now, a quarter of companies in the world have only just started developing business continuity plans in response to the COVID-19 outbreak. As the outbreak forces business administrators to implement visitor health declarations, telecommuting or split ops work arrangements, how can resource and manpower-strapped SMEs manage these disruptions to their daily operations? Even as Enterprise Singapore launched a guide on BCPs, SMEs struggle with a deluge of information and a lack of resources. Without the tools to guide a streamlined process, implementing BCPs becomes an administrative nightmare. To help SMEs cope, leading events management technology provider Global Sign-In has developed Welcome, a visitor management web app with a free temperature check-in tool. A veteran in events tech, Veemal Gungadin is CEO at Global Sign-In and is well-versed in what it takes to manage crowds of people. Thanks for joining us today, Veemal.
Thank you, Howie.
So it's all BCP talk these days, yeah? The implementation of BCPs and why it's important. But it must be a really daunting process for SMEs, as we just mentioned.
Yeah, when we hear about BCP, so typically you tend to think that it's only large organizations that tend to put into place business continuity programs. But in these days with COVID-19, I mean, it's really important for SMEs as well to put into place BCP. And it sounds daunting, but it's actually, it can be quite straightforward, actually.
What sort of things are they up against for smaller organizations to implement a BCP?
Well, the very first thing is actually to appoint what we'd call a BCP manager, right? So somebody who will be championing that internally within the organization. So depending on your size of organization, so it could be the HR person, an admin person, right, who takes care of this and then champions this. And when we talk about BCP, there's really like 4 areas we're looking at. Is like what are the processes to put into place for human resources, the business processes itself, suppliers and customers, and then with regards to communication, how you communicate internally with your staff and with your customers as well.
That all sounds kind of doable, of course, coming from a person who works at a larger organization and everything's sort of going all right after a month. But let's say you don't have a BCP at all. Is it too late now to come up with one? How can they go about doing that?
All right. Well, the thing is, for one thing, it's never too late. Now, the next thing we have on hand right now is nobody knows how long the current situation is going to last. Like up until like a couple of weeks ago, we thought, hey, another month or two, the situation was getting better in Singapore, would be all right. But we're now seeing like a second wave of infections coming over, especially now with regards to what's happening in Europe, in US. And people are even talking about like this whole situation, whatever that is, could last up until the end of the year, right? So for sure, it's not too late right now. In fact, this is probably the time to really look into of putting into place BCP processes, right? So like, for example, one of the very simple things a business can do today is to split the company into 2 teams, right? So your team A, team B. This week, team A works in office while team B works remotely. So that in case there's any infection in one of the teams, well, the business can continue running, right? Because that's what you want to put into place. So, of course, then with regards to putting practices like this into place, then it becomes important for organizations, for SMEs, to ensure that those people working remotely, they have the relevant tools that allows them to do their business, right? So like, for example, remote telephony to start with, access to emails. We're talking about the basics here, right? But on top of that, it becomes important as well to keep track of your well-being of your staff, right? So like those working from home, like how are they doing? Like right now, the best practice is still to keep track of temperatures of your employees at your organization twice daily, morning and afternoon. Now, you can kind of enforce that when your staff are in office, but you do want to enforce that also when people are working from home, right? Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the common challenges they might face, though. They don't know how to do it. There is the administrative workload of, say, regular visitor and employee check-ins, like you just mentioned. How can these be dealt with?
Well, the thing is, in any organization, you will deal with employees who will not necessarily be compliant. I mean, you tell them to log their temperature. They would not necessarily do that.
Oh, no. Guilty as charged.
Yeah, there you go, right? But how is it that you can do these processes or even ultimately automate some of these stuff, like automate the sending of reminders to employees who are not logging in their temperature? And how is it that when there's visitors coming over to your workplace, like you need to track, for example, the health declaration of these visitors to ensure that they haven't been, let's say, these used to be from China, still from China, but now we're also asking, like, for example, did you come from Europe, right? One of the affected countries. So it's important to keep track of this information. So what we realize is people, like in the haste of putting up such processes, you tend to revert to good old paper, right? And then when you're using paper, then obviously that comes with its old challenges, right? So you have different sheets of paper. How do you keep that? How do you keep track of the information?
Paper cuts.
Yeah, there you go, right? And then, touch wood, one day there's a contact tracing to be done, right?
Yeah.
And now you got to go back to the bunch of papers and then find the relevant information. And of course, it's all error prone. There's somebody who comes to your office who tells you his name is Jack, but Jack what, right? So how do you contact that guy to probably give him some valuable information that, hey, there was a case, or you might be at risk, so here's what you should do, right? So you're doing that not just for your workplace safety, but for your visitors' safety as well.
We're speaking with Veemal Gungadin, who is CEO at Global Sign-In. Veemal, let's talk about tech solutions that can ensure workplace health and safety for employees and also for visitors.
Yeah. So there's tech solution out there. So we ourselves, we've worked on building up such a tool specifically for the current situation, COVID-19, I'd say. So our whole company comes from a very event background. So what we've done is we've leveraged on lots of technologies that we already had and then repurposed them for the current situation. So, for example, we've got tools that allows companies to do full temperature check-in for their employees. So if you want to have like that virtual assistant that helps you ensure your employees are logging their temperatures twice daily, then this can be automated. So we provide a free tool, by the way, which can be used for free by any SMEs within Singapore. And that tool integrates with SingPass mobile app. So your employees just authenticate themselves with the SingPass mobile app. Right?
And it's called Welcome, is that right?
And that's called Welcome. Yeah.
Right.
So,
it's
WYLCOME.
Right.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
So then the benefit that this tool provides you is obviously lots of automation that normally an admin person would have to do or your BCP manager would have to do. So, for example, if let's say there's any of your staff that logs a temperature above 37.5, right? So you immediately get a notification. Your HR gets a notification. Your BCP manager gets a notification of the staff. And then we also, so it's a mobile tool which keeps track also of the location. So if tomorrow you need to do up a report of where were your staff, and then were they at locations that you found out were clusters or they were infected cases, so you can pull out these kind of reports. So that tool is available basically for free for any SMEs currently to use in Singapore.
How can SMEs be sure that the information is accurate, for example, it's verified, it's traceable?
Okay, so there's different types of information, right? So for one thing, we're talking about temperature check-in. So one of the tools that we provide also is visitor registration. So basically when there's a visitor coming into your office, and then you're tracking their information. So it's probably easier to ensure that you have the accurate information of your employee compared to your visitors. So I'll probably address that. So we visitors that coming into your office, so that's also a tool that we provide, but then which integrates again with the SingPass mobile app. So in this case, the visitor comes in, they launch their SingPass mobile app on their phone, and they use their fingerprint or their Face ID on the iPhone to to validate themselves, and then they check in. So in this case, you have the accurate information of the identity of the person who's coming into your office. So that down the road, if there is any contact tracing to be done, then you're sure you know who was in your office, and then you can even keep track of their official phone number as well. So then these are tools that we have put into place with regards to Welcome that are today helping SMEs keep their workplaces safe and secure.
And that obviously takes away a huge chunk of work from an administrative person, especially in, say, manpower-strapped SME.
That's correct. I mean, this is tough times right now, right? So there's a big uncertainty. So that lots of organizations are also using this time to look at what else they should improve within their businesses, which is the right thing, I would say, right? So the last thing that you want to be spending your time doing currently is very much in terms of administrative work, right? So if there are stuffs out there that you can leverage on, tools that you can leverage on, digital tools that you can use that automates the admin work, then you should, right?
Veemal Gungadin, CEO at Global Sign-In, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at moneyfm893.sg or download the SPH radio app available on Google Play or the App Store.